Hey, guess what? Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man, is he could end homelessness tomorrow. Cost $20 billion to end homelessness. He could do it like that. He could do it himself. He could end homelessness tomorrow, cost $20 billion. He does do it. What is he doing? This is what he's doing. The guy could literally end homelessness if he wanted to today. This is what he's doing instead. He's literally making himself into Dr. Octopus. This is a real life supervillain, ladies and gentlemen. Find a photographer who got bit by a spider to stop this guy. Here's your real life supervillain. There it is. So California still can't figure out high-speed rail, but we got this. We can build this, but we somehow can't get off gasoline cars. Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. The millennial generation born between 1981 and 1996 controlled just 4.6% of the United States wealth, even though millennials born between 1981 and 1996 are the largest segment of the workforce with 72 million members. Huh. And for that privilege of owning just 4.6 of the United States wealth, even though they are the biggest segment of workforce with 72 million members, they get the crippling student loan debt for the privilege. You know what their problem is? They shouldn't have bought all that avocado toast, right? Hey, billionaires hurt economic growth and should be taxed out of existence, says best-selling French economist. That's Piketty. Thomas Piketty, by the way, who also predicted the 2008 crash. He was one of the only guys in the world. Says best-selling French economist and motivational speaker. I'm motivated to tax them out of existence. Here's the key points. A popular French economist says billionaires are harmful to economic growth and would be effectively abolished under his tax plan. Piketty says the notion that billionaires create jobs and boost growth is false. And by the way, he was that book bestseller on Amazon. So that was the one day when David got to sit on top of Goliath. So you want to hear? So here's what. So we know that the country's run by the corporations, that the government actually doesn't have the power, or they have the technical power, but they're owned and controlled by Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, the military, Raytheon, Halliburton, Exxon, Eli Lilly, and Blue Cross Cigna. So that's who controls the government. That's why we live in the country we live in. That's why there's homeless people under every bridge in California. Under every bridge in Los Angeles and California state run by supermajority Democrats, Democratic governor, Democratic city council, Democratic mayor, and there's people under every bridge in Los Angeles. The world's fifth largest economy can't take care of its own people, can't house their people. The world's fifth largest economy can't house their own people. Well, they can. They're just not doing it because the government controls. Why is Gavin Newsom still giving out fracking permits? We have supermajority Democrats. Because they're owned by Wall Street. And here is Lloyd Blankfein to sound the alarm. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
We've talked an awful lot about big technology and being targeted by government. You think that there will be some sort of breakup that takes place here? What do you think those companies are facing at this point after being labeled monopolists?
I think there'll be a lot of pressure on those companies. I thought this for a long time. I didn't know what tack it would take. And by the way, in some big sociological 30,000-foot view, you can't allow companies to become more powerful than our elected officials.
This is straight up comedy. This is a guy who's more powerful than our elected officials, saying we can't allow companies to become more powerful than our when he knows goddamn well that's the world we're living in. So again, this is all you turn on CNBC, it's performative theater. Is this CNBC? This is all performative theater. Now he's performing, but who's he performing for? Other reporters? I don't know who he's performing for, but it's for someone.
Than any other political body in the country, the political system would reject it, should reject it in a way. And again, I'm talking about.
He said if a company became more powerful than politicians, that the political system would reject it. This is hilarious.
Abstractly here, you can't have, just think of all the cases that have come out on the subtleties and nuances of free speech. And now we have Mark Zuckerberg and his lieutenants deciding what gets out there and what doesn't get out there. That can't work in a democracy. The democracy won't tolerate it. And I wasn't sure.
What democracy do you live in? First of all, Lloyd, we don't live in a democracy. Why? Because this thing that you're saying we can't afford is actually already happened. We have the complete corporate capture of our government. So we don't live in a democracy anymore. I don't know if you've seen the Princeton study. But we don't live in a democracy. We live in a straight-up oligarchy, and you're one of the oligarchs.
Necessarily what form the approach would take of government. They could talk about.
And by the way, we've already put up with Mark Zuckerberg and Jack from Twitter and anybody else, Silicon Valley, having complete control over who gets free speech and who doesn't. We're okay. In fact, people on the left are screaming for them to do more censorship. People on the left want Mark Zuckerberg to unilaterally do more censorship.
The infringement on privacy, national security, for example, letting the Russians in to influence our system, or antitrust, monopolizing activity. And eventually all of those elements will come down. And I think that it's possible that there's a breakup or some other element of control. I'm not dying to have these great companies become utilities, because it's a jewel of our system that we produce such innovation. And I'd like to, and I wouldn't want to, give them a lobotomy by making them into utilities.
Yeah, see, because once the private companies, they do all the innovation. Look at Comcast. Look how your cable works. Look at all the innovation. Look at all the innovation. Look how Facebook. Look at all the innovation. The internet was invented by the goddamn government. There's your fucking innovation, Lloyd Blankfein, you gaslighting, bullshitting, billionaire liar. And of course, this reporter doesn't have a fucking brain in her head. So she doesn't have any pushback whatsoever to any bullshit he's saying, because she's paid by him. Those reporters at CNBC and MSNBC, they're paid by Wall Street. That's where they get their money. Military-industrial complex, Wall Street, Big Pharma. That's where they get their checks are signed by. That's who that pays them. This is hilarious. It's like it's opposite day at CNBC. It's that day every day. I don't want them to become utilities, because then that would hurt innovation. So what's a name for broke people who worship and defend billionaires? I would call them cable news viewers. I would call them Bloomberg bootlickers. They call themselves the adults in the room. Mm-hmm. I call them cable news viewers. Broke people who worship and defend billionaires. There you go. There's the guy really running the country.
Oh, look, he's doing a double CK.
Doing a double CK.
That is really impressive.
I say we tax that guy out of existence. Who's with me? Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.